tell me this.
So many of the musicians in the 40s, they go to Europe, particularly France, and they never came back, right? And the same thing happened for Miles, right? He went to Paris the first time, and he's been treated the way blacks were treated in the 40s. What's it feel like when you get to another place and they treat you not just as a normal human being, they hold you in high esteem, right? How did any of y'all ever come back to the United States? That's what I want to know.
Well, I wasn't going to come back. No, I wasn't. And what happened was I was jamming down at the Club Saint Germain on the left bank, and the guy came from Sweden and told me, he asked me if I wanted to make some records in Sweden. So I said, yeah. So he said, we'll send you a ticket to go to Stockholm. So he wanted to send me a plane ticket. I said, I don't want to fly. I want to go on a train. So I went on a train and a ship, to get over there. And when I got there, we made all these different things with strings, and there was one more song, and the guy said, what would you like to do? Do one more, 12 side. I said, how about I'm going to move for love? The guy said, okay. Gusta Castellius. So he got up, went into the John, and sketched out the harmony. Now the baritone player was sitting there and had an old silver alto sitting there, and in those days you would try somebody's horn, but you wouldn't do it now, So I said, you mind if I look at that? He said, no, not at all. So we did the thing, bang, and the reason it went da da dee da 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 was because I had been playing tenor. And like I never...
Playing alto when I first met you.
No, tenor.
No, you was playing alto.
With Dizzy's band?
His group.
Oh, with my band? Oh, no, I know I had alto. I had alto and tenor and flute. And the reason I had the alto was because of the Moody Mood for Love. I had to learn that. I had to learn the whole solo to play it because people wanted to hear it. But so when they said bang, I said on alto, ba da 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 da. People said you were really inspired. I was trying to find the notes because it was alto.
Trying to figure out what key you're in, right?
See? Huh?
Trying to figure out what
Yeah, like that. And so the record became a big seller here. And Bab Gonzalez said, Moody, come on back, you got a hit. I didn't know what a hit was,
Did you go through that the same thing when you went to Europe the first time, Mr. Haynes?
When I went to Europe, I was 1954. I was with Sarah Vaughan. And yes, similar, because when I got to Paris, we had a week off in Paris after doing a lot of American army camps. They had that, there was a war on during that time. And they had all these record dates lined up for me that I didn't even know about. I didn't know I was going to have, and I had my picture on the cover of Jazz Hot magazine, which I still have. So that alone, man, I wasn't getting that back here. And also getting back to something else that I didn't get back here. I got the Jazz Power Prize, which was many years later in Denmark, where they give you $30,000, man. And not only that.
1950 what? 1950?
No, that was later.
That was later.
Okay.
But not only that, they advertise it. What was that again? No, you just, And a great thing about it, okay, they got the NEA thing that they give you here, which I got later on, and it was less money.
Then they'll give you from Denmark.
Yeah, but what happened in Denmark, I'm traveling with my band on a plane, and my bass player is sitting behind me, and he's reading the International Tribune, the People's column in the International Tribune. They're talking about Margaret Thatcher, Ernest Hemingway, and Boston drummer Roy Haynes. I got some good press out of that. I mean, and some money, moolah. And speaking of Miles, in 1949, when I left Lester Young, I started working around 52nd Street. So Miles had lived 147th Street in New York, and I lived 149th Street. And we were becoming more friendly than we were when I first met him, which would have been 1945, 46. And let's see, where was I going? Oh, he had a gig in Brooklyn, your hometown, where you came from, in the Brownsville section of Brooklyn, a place called Soldier Myers. And we opened that. We opened Soldier Myers. Yeah, well, my wife, I married a lady from Brownsville, man. You take off your glasses. Brownsville is close to me. So anyhow, that was the first group to work in Soldier Myers. It was Miles, he had Nelson Boyd. The first night we had Tad Dameron on piano. We had Sonny Stitt on tenor for a couple nights. Then we got Sonny Rollins. So that gig lasted a couple of weeks. And every symphony Sid was coming there, Monty Kaye, you know, who ended up managing the MJQ. And they opened another club on 52nd Street across the street from the Three Deuces called the Orchid Room. And they took Miles, Sonny Stitt on tenor, Bud Powell on piano, and Nelson Boyd on bass. Billy Eckstine was headlining, and we were the group.
I saw the Billy Eckstine band. The Billy Eckstine band came out of the Earl Hines band. And a lot of people, Billy Eckstine, they say Earl Hines gave him some of his music to start his own band. And when he started his band, that was really the first bebop band before Dizzy got his band. Because when Dizzy started his band, he got music from the Billy Eckstine band. So now, in the Billy Eckstine band was Dizzy. He was the musical director for a while. And then Fats Navarro played with the Billy Eckstine band, and Miles played with the Billy Eckstine band. Charlie Parker played with the Billy Eckstine band. He had played with the Earl Hines band.
Yeah, they all over band.
Yeah, so that was the beginning of the big band bebop bands, was the Billy Eckstine. Dizzy's band took that a little further. But you know, like, back to the thing about Europe, I went to Europe with Howard McGee in May of 1948. And the headliner of the whole tour was the Grand Coleman Hawkins. Coleman Hawkins was the headliner. I was playing with Howard McGee and his Sextet de Bebop, they called us. And my brother Percy, Specs Wright on drums, and some other people, yeah, he's a Philadelphian. So then that tour, and they had the Slam Stewart Trio, which consisted of John Collins on guitar and Errol Garner on piano. In May of '48, Errol Garner took the French by storm because everything he played they loved. And I was fortunate enough to be on one recording playing I Surrender Thee. I was playing alto at the time, and with Errol Garner from Paris at the time. I always questioned whether the first festival, International Jazz Festival, to Paris was, they say, 49 in the books. Well, I say, well, what happened to the one that we were on in 48? Because Hugh Panazzi was involved in that too. And about the way people treated us, when we got to Orly in Paris, the airport, when we got off the plane, the French girls came in 8 or 10 of them, wanted us, the guys in the band, to go jitterbugging with them that night. They came to get us because the jitterbug dance was happening. So now the way we were treated were like artists, back to the way you're treated in Europe. And that was as far back as 48. They said the first international festival was 49. That's the one where Moody's talking about with Miles and Kenny Dorman, and that one with Charlie Parker.
You know, I'm not so sure that it's the people, broadly spoken, that treat us differently in Europe or the United States. I think it's the media that treats us different than they do in the States compared to what we just left in Europe. I just left Paris, and I did a concert with a pretty diverse bunch of guys, Roy Hargroves, R.H. Spector Band, and a singer, rapper, hip-hopper named MC Solar, and myself. and the place was sold out. They got great press. I got there Thursday, and on Friday I did 3 promo shot interviews for the television and 1 for the radio. And I've done those same kind of things in the States. And I get to the gig and I just go to work. There's no one saying, hey, let's do this interview for the PR, or let's do this a radio shot for the concert, or let's do this 35-second spot for the newscast. I mean, that just doesn't happen here. So when people ask me, are the people different? I think it isn't the people who we see as distinctly different as it is the press, the media people, who in fact control how much of people see of us and react to us and relate to us outside of our bandstand environment.
But don't you think that's partly due to the fact that they don't, we're not there that much?
Do we what?
We're not there overseas that much. If they saw you like they see you in New York, you think they would have the same amount of appreciation for you?
No, I think my amount of visits to Europe has nothing to do with how the press treats me. They want to sell tickets. They want to let people know that I'm in town however often that is, whether it's once a month, whether it's twice a month, and they're going to do what the process is to let their audience know that this person, me, is in town playing this concert, and they'll do what's necessary to get that done.
But I think also that the general public in Europe is more educated to music in the fact through their education system that they accept all different kinds of music. When you go in the airport in Paris, you may hear James Brown, and right in back of that you hear Coltrane, and right in back of that you hear Stravinsky. I mean, the musical knowledge of the Europeans is a little superior to Americans, I think.
I was in south of France, and they said the mayor of this little town, the town was called Miramas, and they said the mayor of the town wants to give you a tour of the library. And I'm like, I don't feel like touring the library, but I agreed. And this little library in this little French town had the most unbelievable, extensive jazz collection, and all these books and biographies about all. I mean, it was half the size of this room in this little town. And he's just looking at me and he's going, "You don't have this in the United States, do you?" You know, he was like smirking at me. You know what I mean? You've been there. You know what I'm talking about. And there are certain countries in Europe where they really, it's really important to them to educate young people.
You know, when I went to Paris, like I said before, and for 2 weeks and stayed for 3 years, like I stayed with my Uncle Louis, who lived like, say, 2 blocks from the Eiffel Tower. We lived on a Embassy Row, the beautiful embassies, and we lived on Sweet Avenue, Shaw Cloquet. So we had a maid, had maid quarters upstairs and all that, and I'm saying that to say that my uncle had 2 girls, and they were like in grammar school. Now, when they came home, they had all their studies and things for home. In the schools in France, you don't have no study period, no gymnasium, none of that crap like they have in America. The educational system there is much, much higher than here. All over Europe it is. Now, what they used to do is they used to say, when it, like you say Freddie Hubbard, they, like most people could tell you who it is. Ron Carter, because, oh yeah, he's a bass player. More people in France or Europe know about the musician that's playing there than the people in America.
When I got sick in Holland with the heart problem, the doctor said to me, he said, "You're a jazz musician." And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Did you know Charlie Parker?" The doctor. And I said, "You could do anything you want. Go ahead."